my guest today needs very little introduction. Her children's books have been published in 37 different languages around the world. Over the last 7 years, she's grown her characters to the much adored half vampire, half fairy Isadora Moon, to Isadora Moon's cousin Mirabelle, and now a new friend, Emerald. And all for younger readers, and you don't have to be for younger readers because I am a mega fan, so it's for all ages. And of course, her middle grade series for 9+-year-olds, set in the Wiskling World of one very glamorous and strong-headed and often misunderstood Victoria Stitch. Hello, Harriet Muncaster, how are you? I'm so happy to chat to you today.
Hi, hello. Well, thank you so much for having me, and yeah, it's really lovely to chat.
It's so exciting. I can't believe it's the end of the Victoria Stitch trilogy coming in September.
I know.
But how are you feeling about it all?
Well, I'm not sure it is actually the end, because I would just carry on writing about Victoria Stitch. But I feel like it's the end of this trilogy. Like, but no, I mean, I have started writing a Victoria Stitch book, but when Minnie's older, when she's like 15 or something.
Yeah.
But
so Minnie, of course, is in book 2.
Yes.
We in Free and Famous, we learn about Princess Minnie, don't we? And
but just to say, that's like not going anywhere or anything yet. It's just something I sort of started, but I don't think, maybe down the line I will do that. But
I quite like the idea of, and you don't see it very often about in children's books, about growing the characters until they're much older. That's what I love about this series. So you get sort of Victoria and Celestine, the twins. They're sort of quite young and teenagery, and they're sort of having to grow up and accept responsibility and even motherhood and auntyhood, which you know, I really love that all the way growing through. But we're getting really, really into the detail of Victoria Stitch and the final book, so I want to save a bit of that. I would love to let the viewers know a bit more about you, Harriet. And so as far as I can tell, you were born in Saudi Arabia.
yeah.
And so how long did you live in Saudi Arabia?
Well, I think it was only about a year or something, so I don't remember any of that.
Oh,
but
okay.
yeah, I came back to England, I think, when I was 1.
Oh, okay, but that's quite exotic, you know.
Yeah, it's quite cool to have that on my passport.
It is really cool. I think it's ever so cool. And so you schooled over here in the UK, and did you have a great time at school? How was your memories of being at school and at college over here?
It was fine. I mean, I was at a lovely school. It was fine. I don't feel like I ever sort of felt like I really fitted in though until I did my foundation course at uni, which was art, and being able to just do art all the time was amazing. And yeah, I think my school was quite academic, so yeah, I just loved being able to just focus on my art and meet other people who were also artists, because yeah, actually in my class at school, I think only 2 of us actually went on to do art. So yeah, it was quite an academic school, so I think I loved my art foundation course. That's where I really started to feel yeah, like
have you ever done that thing where you go back to your favorite art teacher and say, oh my gosh, look at me now? Have you ever met up with them again?
No, I have. I did see him since, actually. Yeah, no, I mean, he was really nice, and I did really enjoy all my art lessons with him. I did go back and see him one time because I went back to my old school and did an event.
Oh, that's so lovely.
Yeah, so that was really nice, and they were so nice. Yeah, it was really
superstar comes back. I love that. That's so wonderful, so inspirational for the children as well, from that school to have you come back and visit. I mean, that's just so lovely. What a nice memory. Oh, lovely. So you went to was it Norwich Uni College of Art? And
yes,
and was it there that you really sort of began to hone your style? Because you do have a very unique style as an artist, don't you?
I think, like, style is a bit of a funny thing because you don't really know where it comes from. I think it's just something that develops as you keep working. And I think everyone has their own style, and it will naturally show itself as you keep sort of working. But my style back at university was quite different, I think, to how it is now. I think it's been honed quite a lot since then.
I like that on your website, which we'll put the links in below, I love that you've done quite a lot of blog posts about how your characters have evolved, and even with Victoria Stitch, you can see the earliest paintings and illustrations that you've done of Victoria, and she's a bit more adult, maybe a little bit more you. Does it?
Yeah, I guess you can see like the style is sort of like echoes of it back, I'd say, back then. Like I've always loved the gothic-y look.
And
I've always loved sparkle and glamour, I guess. Yeah,
it's interesting, isn't it? Because when I think of gothic, I don't necessarily equate gothic with glamour and sparkle, because gothic could be Northanger Abbey, Jane Austen. It could be like, you're thinking of those sort of eerie stories of old, or you think of gothic and you think of, everyone's just standing there dressed in black clothing, head to toe, with big eye makeup on. Don't necessarily think that there's a lot of joy going on, but with your gothic characters and your gothic stories, there's so much bursts of pink and sparkles and diamonds and stars, and it's really a positive thing on the gothic genre, I suppose, if you know what I mean. It's sort of lifting it out, but it's allowing it to become a valid genre particularly within children's books, I suppose, because you don't see it that often. Do you know what I'm trying to say?
So I love contrast. So I think I love the idea of gothicness, or like sort of the black and sort of spiky dark things, but then juxtaposed with something pink and fluffy. For some reason I've always loved that. So like I love like goths on the beach, for example, because that's not where you'd expect to see like I don't know, a family of goths all sitting on the beach. But I love that idea of them maybe all in their black and white swimming costumes, like all sitting on this sunny beach with like a big sunglass on and a big pointy umbrella and things. So I think that's where that came from, the sort of juxtaposition of the pink and sparkle and the gothic black sort of thing.
I love that. I think that does speak of humor that you inject into your books as well. It's really subtle, but I think that's a lovely side of your character that's coming out through the books as well. I think that's really lovely. So what about becoming an author then? So you trained as an artist, when did you feel that you were going to start writing as well and putting words to the illustrations and the characters that you were creating? What sort of started that?
I had no idea that being an author was a job that you could do, like not until I was actually about 15, because my art teacher at school, so James Mayhew lived,
we love James.
He lived in the town where my school was, and he had an exhibition on, and we went on a little art trip one day to go see his work, and it was all children's book stuff. And I was just like, oh my goodness, like this is, because all we'd done before in art was sort of, fine artists and things like that. And I was just like, it really, really spoke to me. I was like, resonated with me. I was like, this is the sort of art I want to be doing. And I love his work. Like,
so lovely.
And so my teacher arranged for me really kindly, I think she must have contacted him and arranged for me to go to his house and speak to him and interview him, and he showed me all his and that was amazing. He was very, now I realise that he was very kind to do that, like very generous with his time to do that. But yeah,
what an incredible teacher you had.
Yeah, so yeah, that was the first time I realised that was when I realised, and I was like, that is what I want to do. That's where I want to channel this creativity. I want to illustrate. I want to write stories and illustrate them.
Oh, so wonderful. Oh my goodness, what a wonderful opportunity. Yeah, I
was
mean, that just speaks volumes, doesn't it, to children being at school and not understanding or having any idea. They might know books, they might know the names of the characters, and there's not a lot of focus on the actual creators themselves, which is something that I'm very passionate about with everything I do. And I came through the music business into this, and I see how that's done, and how, you know, labels and PR companies or whatever, they revere the artist, and so much goes into the artist as well as what they create. And then when I came into the book industry, I was like, oh, how does it, nobody, what's going on? Don't we make a big massive fuss about the authors and the illustrators? And it is changing since I've been in this industry, but I think so much more needs to be done to create awareness around the creators and the creators' journeys, because they're also wonderful doing author events, illustrator events. There's so much that children can learn about opportunities, because as you were saying, you know, when you were doing art, when you were at school, you didn't know where that was going to lead. You didn't know you could do this, or you didn't know what your style was going to ultimately be. And I think a lot of kids feel like that, and maybe some of them actually can give up because they don't realize that because they haven't got their end product of their graphic novel character by the age of 13, then, oh, I'm not going to make it in that. And it's very inspiring to hear your story and to be able to put it out there, so that it's really encouraging for all your fans and anybody who goes onto YouTube or wherever and just literally types in the question, how do I become a children's illustrator or children's author? And, you know, this is there for them to watch and understand. Wonderful, wonderful. Right, now I would love to talk about Victoria Stitch. I understand that you first created her, was it 2007 or something like that? That's quite a long time ago.
Something like that. It was on my foundation course, so it was when I was about 18, I think. 18, 19, yeah, that's when I first created her. Yeah. And you're right in that she was, I feel like, born out of that kind of teenage angsty kind of feeling, I think. Sort of, I just started my foundation course, and as I said, that was when I first felt like I'd met a group of friends that, you know, I've really clicked with, and we hung out all the time, and you know, did loads of fun stuff, and I would just pass my driving test so I could drive anywhere, and, you know, we were doing all kinds of stuff, and so it was all that kind of like freedom feeling, and then along with, I guess, you know, that just sort of feeling of being a teenager. And I've also broken up with my first boyfriend as well at that time, so I think there was I was quite angry, I think, for a while. So I think Victoria Stitch was born out of a lot of these big like feelings, and so yeah, I think that's why she's quite a sort of power, like not what's the word, just like
she has a massive presence, doesn't she?
Yeah, she's actually a dramatic character, I guess.
She's very dramatic.
Yeah, so I think, yeah, that's probably where she was born from. And I also was obsessed with fairies as well, because she started as a fairy, like just a naughty fairy, a very naughty fairy, and I just loved fairies. My whole room was covered in fairies, like, you know, even when I was 19, like everything was fairy, like everything had to be fairy. I loved all the
so cute.
Yeah, and I would dress up as a fairy as well, and like, not all the time, but you know, take photos like wearing the wings and all this sort of thing.
I love that. You're like pre-Instagram in your fairies and dressing up, and
it was a bit like that. I'm glad I did not have Instagram at that.
Your career could have gone in quite a different direction.
Yeah, it would have been very embarrassing.
Fairy queen.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I think that's where she came from. It was just all those sort of emotions just all like bursting out, and like, yeah.
I love that. And I remember interviewing you when she very first was coming on the scene, and And having read that first book, I think that was one of the main things we chatted about, was just you know, the explosion of her emotions all the time. And she does continue to be like that. She's very impulsive, and but it's because, you know, she's very much in touch with her feelings, and she just wears it all on her sleeve, doesn't she? She just, you know, if she feels a certain way, she's going to go and deal with that and be that. And I kind of love that about her. But what I thought was interesting, I mean, and we can come on to that, but I was thinking that it was because of your journey with creating Victoria's Stitch that you actually ended up creating Isadora Moon. How did that happen?
So when I first created Victoria's Stitch, and she was this naughty fairy type character, she had a pink rabbit sidekick, and because I wanted to create this sort, because I was really into looking at all these MySpaces, you know, MySpace back in the day.
I had a MySpace.
Yeah, and there was like this kind of, I don't know what the exact term was, but like glam goth community. And so there were people that had like pink hair but were wearing like big black chunky goth boots, and they'd have like or, you know, Alice in Wonderland but done in like a sort of gothy way. So I was really, really inspired by all that type of thing, and I think Pink Rabbit sort of came from the idea of Alice in Wonderland's white rabbit, but
yes,
I don't really know why, but pink. But I was imagining, you know, the stitching on him because he was
it's like, a bit Tim Burton. Do you think?
Yeah,
Tim
a bit
Burton,
gothic.
A little bit of, yeah, the Stitch. Oh, do you know what? I've never viewed Pink Rabbit that way before.
So, well, he looks cuter now, because when he looked a little less cute when he was with Victoria's Stitch, and then I think as time went on, and there was a time when I was starting to draw Victoria's Stitch all in black and pink, and I showed that to a publisher, and they said, she's a bit spiky for a, you know, young children's book, because I had visions of picture books and things with her.
Yeah, because there is sort of there's an image, isn't there, on your blog of it, and it does look like it's a picture book of Victoria's. Yeah, was that what the first thing that you were showing them then? Was that what that was?
Or maybe I was thinking young fiction, but even then they were like, well, she's a bit sort of spiky and adult looking, but go away and try something younger, well, like make her a younger character basically. And I was thinking, I'm not changing Victoria Stitch, because, you know, she is who she is. She's not a child. She is like a more sort of teenager type thing. So I was like, well, I'm going to take the aesthetic from this, and I'm going to make it younger and friendlier, but it needs to be a new character. So that's where Isadora Moon came from. And then I was like, oh, shall I give Isadora Moon Pink Rabbit though? And then I decided to, because I was like, Victoria's Stitch I'll create a new sidekick for her. And because Victoria's Stitch got Stardust now, little dragon. So
I love Stardust.
Yeah, like this one, I like this baby dragon here.
Oh,
like, I just
cute.
But yeah, that's where Isadora Moon came from. So it just sort of went off in a different direction for Isadora Moon.
That's so interesting. And Isadora Moon is huge. I mean, you've got the cartoon coming out. Is it out already, or?
It's coming out, I'm not sure exactly when, but it will be out soon on Sky Kids, and it's produced by Kennebec Media. And I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, that's amazing. And of course you've got all the merchandise site and everything. It's just wonderful when you see things just blow up and get exciting and huge. It's just wonderful. So we've got, Victoria is obviously a twin. So she's a twin with Celestine, and this is so you've got Victoria, who's the dark, you know, she's wearing black, she's very glamorous, she's got, like you said, she's very spiky, and, you know, black and white striped stockings, and, you know, oh, here she is. Oh yes, hello.
And that's her actual size. This is their actual size, Victoria.
That is absolutely awesome. Oh my goodness, I love them. So so introduce the characters then, go for it.
Oh, well, Victoria, they're both born from, because Wisklings are born from crystals, from the one crystal cave in Wiskling World. And if it's a diamond, which is very rare, then that is a royal. But Victoria Stitch and Celestine are born from a diamond that has a like a dark streak in it. So the authorities in Wiskling World think it's they decide it's an impure diamond, so they're sort of relegated to living ordinary Wiskling lives, but also they're not allowed to be adopted by Wiskling parents either, which is what usually happens. So they're sort of kept under the thumb of the authorities.
So they're kind of like orphans, really.
Yeah, so Victoria Stitch obviously very angry about this. I mean, Celestine is too, but she's much more sort of, I don't know the word, tempered or
Acid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're very different. They're like, you know, moonlight and sunshine. So yeah, it's about them.
So you said Wisklings are not fairies.
No.
So how did you come up with Wisklings, and what exactly are they?
Well, I think I just really wanted to create my own character, because my own sort of like species, I guess.
Yeah, species.
So I was, as I said, I was really super into fairies, but I sort of started getting so into it that I was reading books and things, and I was realizing that fairies might actually exist. I mean, I don't know, but there are people who really, so that made me start feeling like, oh, well, you kind of don't have ownership over something that is already, or might even
I like your thinking on that. Yes.
And I thought also, if I'm going to be super into fairies, but I haven't seen one, unlike these people who have seen one, then I feel like, I don't know, maybe
you might get it wrong.
Yeah.
You might get it wrong. You might say that they like to eat apple blossom, but they
exactly.
And
I sort of thought, well, I can't be like the all-knowing person about. I don't know. It was just like a weird thing that went on in my head.
You could have definitely gone down a tunnel there with the fairies. I could have seen all sorts of stuff. Yeah, I totally get you.
And I was like, what if they're not actually miniature and they are like, full size? I don't know. So I was like, do you know what? I want to create my own little species of.
It's so funny.
Yeah, so
I get it though. I totally get it. I think it's the creator inside you. You're so original, and I think that probably you're a perfectionist, and you wouldn't want, if you're going to create something, you wouldn't want it to have already been out there in any other sort of way. It would be yours, original. You own it. That's you. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, 100%.
Because I think also some people say fairies are more, is it like ethereal?
Ethereal, yeah.
And things, but I like the idea of like a really solid little miniature person. So I was like, but what if they do exist, but they're not actually like that? And that's how I want them to be. So I was like, I'm going to create my own species. So I sort of worked on it for a while, and I think I've always loved photographing. I've always loved having a little mascot. So I wanted to create a little mascot. So this is Celestine. This is how Celestine first started. It was a little doll. And
you made that doll? You made the doll?
I did actually, like years ago. And so this is when Wisklings I first created them, because so I think I thought, I love the idea of little antennae, and I like the idea of like a little black tip nose. I just think it looks cute. And obviously they're miniature, they're born from crystals, and I love, like, I thought if they have super eyelashes.
So have you ever found anything that you can create those eyelashes in real? I swear, I was thinking, how, when we do this interview, I was like, imagine if I turned on the video and I had these big long whiskling eyelashes. How do I create
know, it would be so cool. I don't know, but a filter would be cool actually, if you could do like
I thought that too. Come on, Harriet.
I don't know how to make a filter.
Get your 2023 AI tech hat on. Come on, let's have some filters.
Yeah, I have no idea. I'm not very good at technology. But
anyone watching this, if you make filters, get in touch.
Yes.
So
anyway, that's how Celestine developed, because actually it started with me making a 3D model of this Wiskling, and they started with a different name and changed to Wisklings later.
Right.
And yeah, so and then I just sort of played with her for a few years, just like taking her out and about and photographing her. And all
Yeah.
the time, this sort of world was building in my head of where she came from, like, you know. And then I decided, oh, what if actually Victoria stitches a Wiskling as well? Because at that point she was still separate.
Yes.
And what if I make her actually into Wiskling? What if they're twins? And what if? And then the story just started coming.
I love that. That's just amazing. I think that really just demonstrates to anyone and everyone how long sometimes it can take to formulate an end product, you know, a character or a storyline or something like that. Sometimes they can come to you in seconds and you're like, oh, and other times they can take years and years and years, but God, it's well worth the wait. That's for
Oh,
sure.
thank you. Yeah, no, yeah, it did take, it was a long time, like maybe like 15 years from Victoria Stitch first appearing to the book.
That's amazing. That is amazing. And I you know, reading this Dark and Sparkling lately, just finished it last week. I was just fascinated by all in the libraries and in the where all the crystal dust is kept. Oh, you've painstakingly written the names of all the books, and you've written like the names of all the gems and crystals and everything like that. I mean, that kind, and then also in your illustrations, the tiny little whiskerings that are around the woods and things like that. I mean, it's just, it looks painstaking, like how to do that much detail. And but you know, what does it take to complete artwork like that? Do you have to sort of leave it for a couple of days, or do you just literally sit there and I'm not moving from my desk for 8 hours and I'm finishing this piece?
Well, I'd say I'm just so super passionate about Wiskling World that, you know, I want to put in loads of detail. I usually will do sketches first, so I'll do most of, maybe all of the sketches for the book, and then I'll ink them up and start
Yeah.
painting. And then I do generally will do a bit of tweaking then on Photoshop to make them, I don't know, make the black ink lines sort of darker, and
Yes.
you know, just neaten them up basically, because I'm just not a very neat worker. So
No,
yeah,
I mean they all
bit
look
neat.
amazing, and actually in the third book there are some really heavily illustrated whole pages, quite a few of them through the book actually. I would say I think it's probably a little bit more than usual, which is really lovely. I love it when it's like that, you know, because not often in middle grade books you don't often get a lot of illustrations, and I know firsthand from, you know, working with children in schools that a lot of them really miss that when they get into year 5 and year 6. They really miss the illustrations, and so when they do find books with illustrations in it, really encourages them to read the story and stay with the book as well, because like a lot of the time, you know, they might read the first few chapters but then, you know, it just becomes tough, especially if they're not naturally passionate readers, or they find reading difficult and they're maybe just taking a while to catch up with the others. So I think having the choice of fabulous books like these with you know, immense amount of illustrations is just, it's awesome. It's awesome. So thanks for doing what you do.
Oh no, thank you for reading them.
I don't want to give too much away because obviously most people won't have read it when the video goes live. So, but as they will know from book 2, Free and Famous, that Celestine and Victoria are now queens of Wiskling Wood. So that's great. And they also are now taking care of Princess Minnie. And Princess Minnie was born of a pure diamond. So the legacy is there. And I thought it was a wonderful addition to the storyline around the parenting of Princess Minnie, because, you know, Victoria and Celestine have this sort of thing, don't they, where they're like, who's going to be the mummy and who's going to be the auntie, or are we both mummies? And
Yeah.
how did you sort of deal with that, with the storyline and bring that together?
I think it was because I just feel like with Victoria Stitch's personality, she wouldn't, although her being an aunt actually means she's actually doing the same responsibility as Celestine, really. I think she just wants to sound a bit cooler, maybe. I don't know. Not that it is cooler being. I think the other thing is actually probably the main thing was because of the age of the readers, 9 to 12. I think having her as a mother is maybe just a bit too far removed or too grown up for her as a children's book character to be a mum, or officially a mum. Because
you mean the two sisters being the mums?
No, Victoria Stitch being
because of her character.
So it's fine for
journey.
Celestine, because Victoria Stitch goes on, there's no Celestine perspective in book 3 anyway, so
not really, no.
So I think that was probably more, it was keeping it trying to keep it relatable to like a 9 to 12-year-old, not making her a mum, because actually a 9 to 12-year-old may actually be an aunt. Some children
I know a couple.
Believe
it or not, in the schools that I work at. And so in the third book, there are some very disgruntled Wisklings, and there is a secret society that has formed, fans of Lord Astrophel, who I don't know, I don't want to say too much really, because it is actually a very exciting story. But Victoria Stitch, being Victoria Stitch, she uncovers the plot, and lots of very dramatic events happen. This is, I think, book 3 is really an ultimate culmination in Victoria Stitch's personal journey from being the traumatized orphan, the going me against the world kind of attitude, very selfish, really no sense of danger or being able to see anything from anyone else. Like maybe empathy is a lack of empathy, and so she's sort of taken that journey all the way through the first 2 books, and then literally she just has these massive epiphanies during her last adventure, which it's fantastic. I just can't believe it, the way you've planned it, because it just all works out extremely well in reading the books together. It's fantastic. So was that, I feel like as an author, that must be really tricky to try and plan, because not only are you saying, okay, but at the beginning of book 1, she's a really nasty piece of work and she's a pain in the butt. Now, by the end of book 3, she's going to have a little bit of a dark side, but for the benefit of the world, because she's seen it, been there, done it. How do you take that all the way through 3 books and then gradually chip away, and then here we are with the sparkly Victoria Stitch at the end?
I don't know, because it's not like I planned that really. It was just sort of organic how she because I think the thing was, my idea really fitted into 2 books, and then the 3rd book was like a bonus book. So I don't think I hadn't planned, but I planned book 1 and book 2. Like I knew that what was going to happen when I got the deal for them, but book 3 was like a bonus one to do, and so I think I actually had to. That wasn't planned at the very beginning when I started. Only book 1 and 2 was. So I didn't plan it basically from the beginning, actually.
That's amazing. I'm so glad you've done book 3. It really, seriously, massively brings it all together. I mean, I've got to say, guys, book 3 is really, really awesome. It's like you really feel it's the end of the end of the series. There's big battles, there's a lot of, well, we'll get into a bit of that, but it's just, you really get the sense of the power of the story in the last book. I mean, you get that in some of the very best children's series, don't you? Like you get that last book that has the biggest fights, the biggest realizations, the biggest turnaround for characters, and you have like the big reunions and everybody, you have a nice happy ending, which is always good. I'd love to ask you a bit about Victoria Stitch's fabulousness, because even though she's become like this massive warrior by book 3, she's done the being famous bit, she's done all that, she's been stars, naming lights and all that kind of stuff. Now she's literally the warrior queen in the final book, but she's still fabulous. You know, she's still thinking about designing dresses and things like that. How important was it for you to continue to infuse that sort of Victoria's creativity through her character, even though the storyline is, it seems so far removed from all of that, but yeah, it doesn't feel like that when you're reading it. It feels seamless because you know Victoria's character.
I think that I don't know if, I think it's because maybe I'm an illustrator as well, but I'm very visual. So I think to me it is very, very important what she's wearing and what she looks like and what she's, so I think that is what she looks like represents who she is. So I think that's, and I love fashion. I'm not necessarily on myself. I wear very, like, I would say actually quite plain things, but I love looking at it on other people. Like, I love seeing people dressed up. So yeah, I think I just wanted to incorporate all that, and yeah, so it's very important to me that, I mean, all Wisklings are quite, I think, eccentric and
yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
One. I love that.
Yeah,
one.
I have Victoria Stitch's crown, which I got someone, a miniature jewelry maker, to make for me.
Oh, look at that. That is amazing. And what color is it? All green, or is it, we got other colors? Because it's sparkling, so it's showing all sorts of colors.
Yeah, it's sort of like, I don't know, sort of a petrol green, maybe.
Yeah, it's amazing.
I mean, she has lots of crowns, so
of course,
it's just one of them. But
totally.
yeah, I also, because I like to show these at events, but these are her, I got these made as well, these teeny tiny little boots.
Yeah, I mean, like, literally that totally just matches everything in the book, like, to the T. I love it because it's also for me, it's a touch of feminism that, you know, I love that Victoria Stitch, with Victoria Stitch and Celestine, you've got, you know, elements of being a woman in every single sense of the word. And I love that even though she's going into battle, she still wants to look her best.
Yeah.
I love, you know, I love that she, you know, wherever she lays her head to rest, you know, she magics up the things that are comfortable to her. Like, you know, she'll want a lovely bed, or she'll have a lovely bath, or, you know, she'll magic up her favorite hot chocolate. And I think a lot of that is actually quite feminine traits that, you know, are really personified through those two characters, particularly with Victoria. And I really love that, because you sort of, you get these, one of my favorite, I know it's going to sound a bit bonkers to you, but one of my favorite scenes in the final book is when Victoria Stitch is taking Minnie in the pram to the Emporium for a cup of hot chocolate. And I love that scene. I mean, there's a fantastic illustration of it as well, like, which is fab. But I love the description of how the guards help her up the steps with the pram. I love the fact that she's going in there with a baby and everyone's staring and all that kind of thing. And you know, and then she's talking, she gets her favorite hot chocolate and she spoons off the top to Minnie. And I, as a mum, and I, you know, maybe this is your motherhood coming through too, you know, and your experience of having children. It's like, you know, these are all things that perhaps, unless you're the mum or you're the dad parenting like all the time, that these are little things that, you know, when you're reading it as a parent, you're like, oh yes, I remember those times. And I literally, there's so many moments through the book where Victoria Stitch is with Minnie, or reunited with Minnie, and she's having those cuddles with the baby. And the way you describe them, it just makes me feel so nostalgic for cuddling my baby. Oh. I literally, it's like one of the loveliest things reading the book is the way that Celestine and Victoria Stitch dote and care for the baby. And, you know, they're arguing about the routine and the schedule, like, that's how she's had a draglet's egg this morning already. Yeah. Another one this evening. Oh, but it's okay, she's eating, you know. It's like,
yeah. Victoria's such a bit more laid back parenting, I think.
I know, like, is this like a little bit of reflecting your parenting at home, or like, I know it feels a bit like mine. Yeah. What parent are you more like, Victoria or Celestine?
Oh, Victoria Stitch, yeah. Yeah. No, I'm not very good with that.
I'm definitely Celestine.
Oh, are you? See, no,
I have to hold my hand up and say, like, literally, I've probably been a complete nightmare. Like Celestine times 100 at times.
Oh, yeah.
Not all the time, but at times.
Yeah.
I
But you need a bit of that for them to feel safe. That's the thing, I think. Yeah, because I mean, Victoria Stitch never had that. That's probably why she loves
no,
so much, because she never had parents. But
we were just really talking about I was, really just imparting on you my, my joy of reading those lovely scenes in the book, and how, the relationships have developed, and then now Minnie's there as well. It's brought this mothering out in both of them, but in different ways.
yeah.
Because, Victoria is very much the protector because she is a survivor, whereas Celestine in book 1, she was very happy with her job, she was creative, she was very calm in her life, and she really didn't care if she wasn't queen. It wasn't the biggest deal at the end of the day. She'd found her path, whereas Victoria knew her path. That was her destiny, and she was sticking to it. Which, God, as particularly as girls, we need characters like that. Like, if we know we're going to be this, we're going to be this, and we're going to get there. Okay. Well, actually, no, she didn't do. Yeah, actually, that was another thing in the book. So I wanted to ask you this question, because as an author, it must be like, and I presume you have these discussions with your editors at Oxford University Press, and it's like, when you are writing for 9 to 11-year-olds, how do you, where's the line? Where do you cross the line? So, like, in book 3, you've got magic, you've got deadly magic in book 3, not loads of it, but obviously there's a really big final battle scene, and 1 or 2 things happen, and there's some hex magic going on, and I wasn't surprised by it, but I just, the language that goes around, and it's not that I haven't read that in middle grades before, but I guess because I'm so used to, Isadora and and this is Harriet Muncaster, and we've got Victoria Stitch, and then it's a character that says the word kill or dead, or she's not, and she's not the one doing it. There are some nasty pieces of work for a short period of time towards the end of the book. How do you work with your editorial team to sort of get that fine balance for children?
I think I don't actually think too much about the audience. I just write what I want to write.
Yes.
And then I think my editor sometimes like tempers it down or says, I think maybe, but I also think that when you have, maybe this might be completely wrong, but if you have a series, I think maybe you can get away with a tiny bit more a bit further down the line.
I think you're right. I think a lot of children are very used to reading those sorts of things, and I think sometimes it can be reflected back to me in the sense of, actually maybe I underestimate how children are not as vulnerable as I think they are. Do you know what I mean? And they're seeing it all the time. They're playing Fortnite, they're playing, they're mashing up people all day long on video games. What am I on about? Like, I have to check myself sometimes, about being a bit Celestine, if you know what I mean, as opposed to Victoria.
Yeah, well,
I think that can sometimes, I do have to wrap myself on the knuckles sometimes and just say, hang on a minute, I'm a bit overprotective here, I'm not sure.
I think it's difficult because I think it's also can vary with child to child as well, can't it? So you don't always even know what is.
That's so true.
I don't know. Yeah, it's a tricky one. I just feel like I just write what I want, and then I trust my editor who Absolutely. Will say this is too much, or this is this one could be a bit more.
They know, don't they? They know. They know the market. They know what's going to work and what's not going to work. And also, you've been with them for years. I mean, yeah. They know you. You know them. You all trust each other implicitly. So no, I think it's thank you for talking to me about it, because obviously it's not something people really talk about much, and probably a little bit taboo to talk about it out loud, but I think it's important. Oh yes, this is going to be one of my favorite bits to talk about. So, miniature worlds. As a child, did you start to get into miniature things at a really young age? What, because I love, you've already shown us a few of the models and the crown and the shoe, but I know that you make, would you call them sets or dolls' houses, or what sort of things do you get into with miniatures?
I love making my sort of vision of Wiskling World, like in being able to see it in 3D. I don't know, it just really pleases me to be able to see it all like there in like real life.
Awesome.
So yeah, I've always loved tiny things. It's just, I've just always just loved them. I feel like it's something you either love or, I don't know, you're not bothered by. I think it's like, I don't know, I think it's just a sort of trait maybe that you're born with, where you love tiny things. Well, no, I think most people can appreciate a tiny thing, but there's some people who really, do love them. So I love tiny things, and I have always been like really obsessed with miniatures. And this is Victoria Stitch's bedroom.
Oh my goodness.
And I just
all of that, have you?
Yes, I have. So the dressing table is made from cardboard, black cardboard. Actually, I didn't make the boots. I commissioned someone to make the boots because I wasn't quite sure how to make those ones are glued in. So those
they're amazing. And did you make the dress as well?
I did make the dress, yes.
That looks like a dress that maybe Ursuline might wear.
Yeah. I feel like Victoria Stitch would also wear it. But
she would.
No, I know what you mean.
Definitely.
And then
so beautiful.
The lamp does actually light up if I put a little, I can't do it now, but I've got like a little glowing ball thing. If I stick it in, it will glow.
I've just seen around the other side.
Oh yeah, that's Celestine. I'm not so pleased with that one actually for some reason. I think I relied too much on like actual doll's house bits that I bought, and I think I was just a bit, I don't know. I don't feel it's exactly Celestine. I think she's a bit more like multicolored gems and things, but I think I was in a little bit of a rush to get it done for an event, so I'm not so keen. I don't know.
Do another
anyway
one.
Yeah, so I'm more pleased with Victoria Stitch.
I love it. Gosh, it's so, and when you read books, it's so lovely to see things like this, and I bet when you go to the events, the children are literally amazed. I bet they
they do enjoy seeing that, because I have an Isadora one as well that I like to show.
Oh gosh, that's amazing.
Yeah, they enjoy seeing that. Honestly, I would be happy to work in Wiskling World for like the rest of, as long as I can. I would love to do a series in Wiskling Wood, but for younger, maybe, because maybe between Isadora and Victoria Stitch. So that's my idea at the moment. That's what
I think that's what we're missing from you as well. I mean, I know you've done picture books in the past, but it's quite a long time ago. But actually tying, I love that there's a thread through things that you do. So with your younger readers' book, they're all related.
It's quite a jump between Isadora and Victoria Stitch at the moment. It would be quite cool to do something in between that, I think.
Mini.
Well, I would just want to work in Wiskling, do something in Wiskling Wood, basically.
I think there could be something for Minnie, maybe.
Yeah. But if you go younger, then you can, I think, go even more illustrations. That's the thing. And I would love to do a bit more illustration.
Yeah, you could do that with board books, of course.
Yeah. I don't think I'd probably go as low as young
babies
board books. But
well, that's exciting. I love the fact that there's continuity with the stuff that you do. I think it's brilliant. So you must have fans all over the world, of all ages, of course. I mean, what are your fans like? Do they have a name, like Taylor Swift's have 50? And have you got a name for your fans?
Oh no. But it is, do you know what, it's so lovely when if I do a bookshop event or whatever, and they're dressed up. They often dress up as Isadora, and sometimes Victoria Stitch, which I really love. And
of course you have, every year you have Isadora Moon Day, which that's fantastic. I mean, imagine that you've got a day that is celebrated of your characters. That's just amazing.
Yeah, it is really cool. Yeah,
and you do often share on your Instagram, so if anyone's not following Harriet's Instagram, do follow her, because she shares all these amazing reels and videos from fans all over the world doing Isadora Moon parties or dressing up or readings, or even they make things. I mean, I remember when I used to do Isadora Moon days at the bookshop, you know, children would come in and they've sewn their own pink rabbits, and they're only like 7 years old, and it's adorable. It's so adorable.
It's so lovely.
Do you get fan art? Actually, that's one thing I've never asked you. Do you get fan art sent to you?
Yeah, I do get sent pictures and things. Yeah.
Do you get any from adults who, you know, like to send their versions of Victoria's Stitch or anything?
Occasionally, not very often. Occasionally, maybe I'm tagged in it on Instagram. Like they never like physically sent to me, but yeah. So
you visit schools, you do festivals. Have you got any festivals this year or coming up?
I've got a few events coming up. I can't actually off my head remember which ones, because I did have a break from events, I think last year, so I've sort of been getting back into them again this year.
They're quite intense, aren't they, in being on the road as well?
I mean, there has to be balance between having time to actually do the work, you know, the writing and stuff, and because it does take a lot of time out from actually creating to do events. So yeah, it's like a bit of a balance to do
you enjoy jet setting around the world and visiting places?
I do really enjoy it, but I'm quite a home bird. I find like traveling, say like abroad or something, is like there are really nice parts, but it is very tiring. I'm not like a massive traveler, so
and I suppose they're not terribly relaxing, are they, in the sense you're always on show and you're always being guided to what you've got to do next and things like that.
But I went to Spain, which is where Isadora is most popular, and that was such a lovely trip. Like I do generally really enjoy, and I love when I did my month of events in just, I don't know, March, just gone. That was really, really nice. I really enjoyed that, and I did lots of places in the UK. I did, and that was really nice.
Oh, that's so lovely. That's so lovely. And what advice would you give to someone who wanted to follow in your footsteps one day?
I would say to focus on what you're passionate about, or like write about what you're passionate about, because I always feel like if you write about what you're really passionate about, then you're going to be writing, you know, it's going to be good, because my work as always, I feel, has come out the best when it's been something I'm really passionate about. So I feel like that's the tips that I usually leave schools with, that I always say is, number one, I think was the passionate one. Number two, I think I always say is don't stop playing, because I think play is really important for creativity. Like, and I think we sort of forget how to play when we get older often. And then I think third one, just practice, keep going.
Victoria's Stitch Dark and Sparkling, so this is out on the 7th of September, I believe, is that right? Have I got the date right?
I think so. Do you know what, the date for that book has changed so many times that it's very hard to keep track of.
So I may or may not be right then.
So it was meant to be out already in February, but then it got changed, and then the date that I've seen online is the 7th, but then I also got sent something the other day that said the 23rd, but I think
because
I think it's the 7th. It's September anyway.
Yes, good. Okay. I think it is. Well, at the moment, I think it might be the 7th of September.
Yeah, I think it is. I'm pretty
sure. There'll be a link down, you know, that people can click on and find out. And so 7th, if it is the 7th of September, how are you going to be celebrating or commiserating the end of your trilogy?
I don't know. Maybe I'll make a tiny cake, a Victoria's Stitch sized miniature cake, an edible one.
I wanted to show you actually, but I have still got my.
Oh wow, yeah.
So I got sent this. I was very lucky. I was one of the few people that got sent these. Victoria's Stitch. You made these, didn't you?
Yeah.
By Harriet when she very first Look, and this tiny little letter. I mean, this is just,
Oh yeah, I
this is
enjoyed
the
making
stuff of legends. And then look at this. I mean, my hands are shaking even trying to hold them. And this tiny little, I mean, this is just amazing. This little thing. And I don't know if you can see if I tip it slightly.
Oh
This
yeah, little licorice
all
all sorts.
sorts. I mean, obviously not for edible.
I mean, I didn't make those. I bought those, but
and a tiny little Victoria Stitch book.
oh yes,
I mean,
which anyone can make because they're free to download.
oh yeah, and yes, if that leads me on to say that if you do go to Harriet's website, she has an amazing resources and activities section with all sorts of things that you can download and make. You can make mini Victoria Stitch books, you can make mini Isadora Moon books. It's amazing, and all for free because she's very nice and kind. But yeah, so we'll put the link for that down below as well. So what can I say? It's been absolutely amazing to catch up with you. And it was 2020 when we last had a chat about Victoria Stitch, and so much has gone on in the world. But I'm so glad to say that Victoria Stitch has been with us all the way, along with all your other wonderful characters, I have to say. And so everybody, if you haven't got any of these yet, here they are. Although this one is a proof, it's not the final copy, but it's very similar. Head down to your local independent bookshop, because we love independent bookshops, and grab yourself a copy of all of them, some of them, or just the very last one, depending on how many you have at home already, or head down to your local library, or your school library, hopefully will have copies as well. And if you need to purchase online, I will pop a link down below for you to head to my bookshop.org store, where if you purchase from there, yes, I get a tiny percentage of the sale, but actually the profits go to local and national independent bookshops around the UK to support the good work that they do in the communities. So thank you so much, Harriet. It's just an absolute pleasure. I wish you all the best for Victoria Stitch Dark and Sparkling, and anything else and everything else you do. And I hope that we get to chat again about anything else that you have coming up, because I always love it when we have a good old chat about everything that's going on with you. So
thank you so lovely. Thank you so much.